Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today on Everyday Lutheran. In today's Bible study, we continue our study of the book of Genesis, where we are looking at Jacob and Esau, Genesis 25:19 through 36:43. I invite you to join us today and to grow in God's Word. But spoiler alert, this Bible study will contain stories that you know, but lessons that were not taught to you. So continue at your own growth and your own understanding. In our last story, we talked about Abraham having a wife, Sarah, and a son with Hagar, the handmaid from Egypt. But Abraham had another wife, Keturah, in which he had several children with: Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Abraham gives everything that he is and everything that he has to his son Isaac. But to each of the other children, he gives great gifts. Abraham ultimately dies at the age of 175. Ishmael goes on to have his own sons: Ketur, Abil, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hada, Terma, Jetur, Naphishish, and Kedarmah. And Rebekah has two children, twins: Esau, meaning red, where all of his body was covered like a hairy mantle. He grew up to be a skillful hunter, a man of the field. He was the big, strong man. But the second son, Jacob, was holding on to Esau's heel as he entered into this world. Jacob is often referred to as being quiet and living in the tents. Not so much of a man's man, more of a soft-spoken person. Esau was a person who was out in the fields working hard, diligently, and yet when he returned to the tent, he was so hungry, and yet he sold his own birthright to his brother for a bowl of soup and some bread. Think about that for a moment. The future gift that your father would give you: land, animals, possessions, everything that you could be. And he gives it up for a bowl of soup and a little bit of bread. Well, this makes us think that Esau is not very smart. Well, what is the birthright exactly that he sold? First, there was the blessing from God. A blessing from God that would allow him to prosper, that his herds would multiply, that everything that he had, everything he would be, would grow abundantly. Not only that, but he would have a relationship with God, and he would become a spiritual leader for the whole family, for the whole people in that community. He would be a family leader. He would be able to make decisions. He would be able to help go to war, defend against war, and even enter into contracts for the whole family to obey. All the wealth of the family would reside with him. This was the full birthright that he sold. He sold it, but had not yet received it yet. It's something for us to note. All of these things he gave away even without even owning it, without even realizing perhaps what it all meant. It's here in this land where Isaac lives, in the land of the Philistines, where they are able to grow in great wealth and power, where their herds and their community is able to grow, where they are able to be in relationship with God and also be able to live in the promised land. Isaac in his story is so very similar to Abraham. It is in the midst of the land that he claims his own wife to be his sister, for she was of great beauty, and he feared that he might die. The king takes note and realizes that this is not his sister, but his wife, and they are protected. Protected from other enemies, and because of this protection, they are allowed to flourish and not have to worry about fear of raids or others going against him. Esau, as he has fallen from this grace by selling his birthright, takes on a Hittite wife, a lesser people at the time. He tries to align himself with a different clan, with a different group of people, so that he would still be able to have land, still have property, and though he is no longer blessed, still able to be in the world as though he was supposed to be. Isaac enters into his final days. He calls for Esau to be blessed. But remember, Esau sold his blessing to Jacob. Rebekah hears and calls Jacob to come. And Rebekah, his own mother, helps Jacob get the blessing and deceive Isaac, so that Jacob is blessed. Jacob receives the full blessing of the full birthright. Everything that could be possibly given to the oldest son, to the firstborn son, was given to Jacob. When Esau enters, hoping that there was something for him, Isaac says, "There is nothing, for I have already given everything away. No blessing, no birthright, no possessions." And he must serve his brother, Jacob, the one who received the full birthright. Jacob and Esau. Esau completely sold his birthright to his brother Jacob, and yet Jacob also deceives his own father, stealing what could have been still his brother's. A sibling rivalry, I'm sure. Jacob fears what it is Esau could do to him. He fears that he wants him dead, so he flees. Rebekah helps Jacob escape to her own brother, Laban, in Haran. It's here in Haran in the north that he feels that he would be safe, or at least know then when his brother is coming after him. Jacob is told to marry from his mother's family, from Rebekah's. Here, he does find a wife. Esau marries a Canaanite woman, and also Ishmael's daughter, Mahalath. It's here where the brothers are aligning themselves with the families, the divisions that have already been in place far before, and they're aligning themselves, two sides of the same battle. As Jacob journeys to Haran, he falls asleep and has a dream. Jacob in this dream has a vision of a ladder that goes all the way up to heaven. And in this vision, he begins to understand what it is that he is called to do, what it is he is called to be, and how he is called to be in the world by God's grace. God speaks of the many descendants that he shall have in the world. God promises to be with him, and all the promise of the promised land and everything that was given to Abraham shall be his. When Jacob finally enters into the land of Haran, Jacob goes to find a wife. And he sees a beautiful young woman named Rachel, and he wants to marry her. So he goes and offers marriage, but has no dowry to offer the father. And so he agrees, "I will work for 7 years, and at the end of 7 years, I will earn enough to have your daughter as my wife. However, Rachel is the second daughter, and the older daughter has not yet been married. And the custom is that you marry the oldest daughter first, and then the daughters in order. So Jacob gets tricked. After 7 years of hard labor, he marries the older sister, Leah. After the wedding, he realizes that he has been tricked and works 7 more years after marrying Leah in order to have Rachel also for a wife. So he works a total of 14 years to earn them. 14 years of living in Haran and being with them. While Jacob is there, though, the herds that are under his care prosper. As Jacob goes to leave, he asks that the herd be divided. Laban agrees under these terms. All the speckled and spotted animals become Jacob's, that are strong and healthy. All the unblemished shall be Laban's. Laban agrees to this, but also tries to deceive his own family. When Jacob, Leah, and Rachel, and their children together, along with all of the animals and all of their possessions, they depart Haran. They depart. But Laban is not happy. Gone is a lot of his herd. Gone are his family. Gone are his grandchildren. Gone is the life that he knew and loved. And he becomes angry. He becomes frustrated. But Jacob and his family depart, returning to the land of his father. Fearing, though, what Esau is still feeling, he departs in 2 separate groups, his family. That if Esau were to attack one, at least half of his possessions and half of his family would still survive. And so he goes and parts them into 2 separate groups, but also sends a messenger to Esau, giving a gift of grace, of honor, and of appeasement, to quench the anger that Esau may have. Yet Esau is no longer angry. After 14 years, Esau has realized that there's more to life than the anger that he had for his brother. There's more to this life and more to this world. He understands that God is with Jacob. Powerful lessons for us to learn, to understand, and even to grow into. That in the midst of our journey of life and faith, there are times that some chapters, some seasons of our life are long, and other times in which we fear one thing, and yet we find out God is already at work, working for us, caring for us, even when it doesn't seem like it. Join us next time as we continue our lesson in Genesis, as we discuss Joseph. If you enjoyed today's Bible study, I invite you to please subscribe to the channel. It's free, and you will be notified every single time I upload a new video. Also, don't forget to like and share this message with others.